All right, and we are officially live. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are now here again to discuss a little bit more about business. I know, like, the business topics, at least this portion of stuff, is not exactly the most exciting things, but it's basically what's necessary, right? It's a necessary evil. And so, what we're talking about today is the taxes are a game, and here's how to play it legally. Now, the reason why most people like overcomplicate taxes, I'm so like pissed by it because when I was younger, I went to go work for a life insurance agency, and I really didn't understand what was really happening in terms of like, okay, I'm making this money, right? They're not taking taxes out. So how do I actually handle that? I have no idea, right? And so I went to the person, I asked them, I was like, hey, how do you handle taxes? Because I have no idea how this works. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, we'll talk about that. But did Mikey tell you about that brand new Ford Mustang that he got out there, boy? Yo, show him the keys. And it's like, yo, they just completely ignored everything that I just said. And so obviously, to me, that was like, I'm not about this right now because you're not answering my questions, and I'm supposed to be on your team and you're not going to help your team figure out what the answer is. You could easily said, hey, I don't know that, but we'll figure it out together. It could have been something simple like that. But to blatantly ignore it, like, ooh, it's the boogeyman, right? It's not the boogeyman. And so, in case you guys didn't know, my name is Manuel Velasco. Real quick, I'm on a mission to help 7,200 people learn everything I know so that they can each help another 7,200 do the same thing. And so the ripple effect of that is 51 plus million lives affected by that mission. Now back to it, actually, real quick, before I get into my outlandish talking. This is Meditations. It's sealed. This is the only line that I need from this book because it's the most powerful line of the book that I know of, anyways. If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake in any thought or action, I shall gladly change. I seek the truth, which never harmed anyone. The harm is to persist in one's own self deception and ignorance. And with that being said, I could finally go ahead and say some more outlandish shit. Now, I'm not a tax professional. I'm just going to tell you based on my experiences of taxes and what I've done with taxes. So let that be clear. Go to a tax professional about this because I'm not the one. But, anyways, what I've done is pretty much I've learned multiple techniques on how to really play the tax game. But now, here's what your real magical write off abilities are right here. Now, the great thing about business is that you could write off things that normally in your W 2 you couldn't write off. And the reason is that you weren't officially a business per se, right? So now the things that you used to consume, right, and it just cost you and it was a consumption cost is now an actual write off. So if you have to be like, hello, send messages, blue, blue, blue on the phone, then guess what? This phone is a write off. Now these shits is not cheap, right? At the time when I bought it, it was like maybe like 1,500 or something like that. So these aren't cheap phones by any means. Well, guess what? That's a $1,500 write off that I get to do during tax seasons, right? I need a phone line, right? I need a provider so I could call people, right? So I have to pay for whatever that cost is. And so the cost of the phone line is, let's say, $100 a month. And so now I get to write that off. Well, here, what with what I do, I need internet as well. So with the internet costs, that's a write off as well. So these used to be consumption items, right? If you will. You didn't necessarily need internet for your job per se, um, but you had the internet, right, to have a more enjoyable life, right? And so now this is a write off. So this whole space right here is a write off, right? I could write off this space. Everything that you see here, this microphone, right? I talked about this PC that I'm building over here, right? And so All these things are write-offs because I'm building this specifically for business, right? I'm adding the local AI to it, a very powerful version of a AI to it that is basically like ChatGPT. And so that's for business. And so all whatever that cost me to make, it's a write-off. And so now it gives you abilities to go ahead and maybe do some innovation in your business, do some experimenting in your business and see, like, testing out ads and seeing what ads work. And maybe you burn through money, maybe you don't. At the end of the day, it becomes a write off, right? Even if you make money off of it, that specific spend was a write off. And so most of the times, people are telling you that, like instantly, if I go ahead buy AirPods, I work a W-2, man, that's $200, $300 on headphones, right? And it's like, man, but that money's gone. It didn't go to anything. But now if I have a business, and all it takes to have a business literally is to sell one thing, and then you're a business technically. And so, with that being said, it's like, okay, you sold something on Facebook Marketplace. Well, congratulations, you entered business realm, and now you get to write off all these things, which eventually will help you when comes tax season, and you get to write those things off against your income. And so, the like, you can't necessarily write everything off, right? There's still rules and stuff in place, but you can write off a lot of different things. This is the part where you have to be very thoughtful about what it is that you're buying and how it is used to benefit your business. Because specifically, it's like, okay, it has to be a business item. You have to use it for business. It's not no joke. Like, this phone is like, this is a business phone. I handle a lot of business. Like, I have two phones, right? And so, like, each phone, I handle business on there. I have this laptop that we're doing this live on. I handle business on here. I go live, right? I do tech stuff in the background or what have you. Like, this laptop works. I have the laptop right here in the background, right? It's a brick over there. And so, like, that's again for work purposes. All these different things. This is a server, a backup battery. That is again for work purposes, because if everything goes out and I lose data, that costs me. It's a business cost if something goes down and I lose that information. So to prevent that, I need this for the business, right? And so all these different things is literally so invaluable that all these different things are literally tax write-offs specifically. Like, again, you need a phone, right? Maybe you need a car to travel. Maybe you need an office to do business. Like I said, you need the internet. Maybe you need headphones. Maybe you need business branded clothes. So your clothes are now free. If you're really rock with your business and you rock your business clothes, your clothes is probably free. And so it just increases more and more. So it's like branded stuff. It's like, okay, if I make everything in my reality, right, as much as possible, right, and I turn that into something that's my brand, then that potentially becomes a write-off because it's all marketing. It's like, okay, if I have a pen that says, Emmanuel Velasco, it's like, boom, okay, that pen is a write-off now when I buy those, because I need them and I give them out. It's marketing. Like, if you see it in this video, this is content marketing, right? Social media marketing. So, marketing expense. I'm showing you different items. Hey, there's a link in the description box below. Get this, like Amazon links and stuff like that. So it's like literally everything. Again, it's not everything, but it also depends on how you phrase it, how you use it. Because a lot, if you're making entertainment stuff on online, YouTube and stuff like that, you kind of can write off a lot of different things, a lot of interesting things that other people can write off. And so, but you literally have to be very mindful about what you're doing, because it has to be very strategic on what you're buying. It's like there's I'll give you some sauce, because there's a place or a website called Printful. On Printful, you're able to pretty much you just got to upload a logo of some sort, or a picture, a decal, graphic of some sort, and you could place it on various different items. And so you could place it on a shirt, you could place it on a cup, on a hat, on socks, on pants, on like everything, right? And bags, everything, right? So if you go to printful.com, you'll see that. Um, there's no link. There's literally no link. You literally have to type print, PRINTFUL, printful.com. That's it. Go there, and then you'll be able to put your brand on various different things. And again, if you put your brand on it, you buy it. It's marketing. It's like you could give it away, right? And it's like, again, marketing. It's a marketing piece. I don't know why. Honestly, I really don't know why, dealerships don't do this. Like, why isn't Ford or Dodge or any of these big brands doing like a custom mug or something, like a travel cup or something? And it's like they could literally put a travel cup in every new Ford and have it say Ford in big letters and stuff like that and really make it an experience. But they don't. So, but you can make your own business experience and have like all these different things. Mercedes has, like, if you go to Mercedes, they have a bunch of different like random accessories. You could get a Mercedes bag, you could get a hat, a shirt, and Ferrari and Rolls Royce has all these different like luxury bags and stuff like that. But it's like it doesn't have to be that crazy. It's very basic, cups, notepads, shirts, all that. But most people, don't have the information. So the information is just go to Printful, go ahead and slap your logo on everything. And whenever you gotta buy something, you might as well buy your shit, right? So if you gotta go ahead and buy mugs, or I don't know if they do plates, but I never looked up plates, but I know they do coffee mugs, shirts, socks, and all types of clothing. So if you have to go clothing shopping, buy your own shit. If you have to go cup shopping, buy your own shit. If you need a notebook, buy your own shit. And so at the very least, you bought your own stuff, custom logo. People are gonna ask you, yo, like that's interesting. Like why is everything that you wear like the same? It's like, oh yeah, like you could go to my website, and every one of these designs, like you could just scoop it up right there and just like order it to your house, and it'll arrive within the next week. It's like, oh wow, like what's the link? Conversation starter. Just offer it. If your shirt, your pants, your phone case, the travel mug you're wearing, the bag you have on you, right? I mean, if you have everything like that aligned, all logoed out to your stuff, it's like, uh, how did you do that? Like that's dope. Like how? Teach me, how did you do that? Because then it's like, okay, then you could be really branded if you're doing it like that. But again, most people rather wear other brands, right? Rather wear some Louis, right, and just drop a dime on that, or whatever have you. And it's like you could wear your own brand. I'm a like Walmart shopper because like I don't care about clothes necessarily. I don't care about that crazy stuff. So it's like whether it's Walmart or my own stuff, it doesn't really matter. But at the same time, it's like why not just fully transfer it? And whenever I have to buy clothes, it's just my own clothes. Just go to your website. I actually do have a website, and you could go buy clothes, but you'll have to either ask me and DM me like, hey, clothes. Just hit me with that line, DM me clothes, and then I'll send you the link to go check out the clothes that we have and all the different stuff on Printful specifically that we're using. Um, but so taxes, right? Right, you just have some magical abilities. Even like if you get specific cars, right? I don't know what the tax code is now because it's always actively changing. Um, but it's like at one point, a couple years back, you could get 100% write off. This could be still true. I'm not 100% sure because it did change recently. But it's like you could get a car that's over 6,000 pounds and write off the full amount. And so whether that's a $50,000 car or $100,000 car, it's like you could pretty much write that completely off. And again, it goes to $500,000 car. in some cases if you get Rolls Royce, right? But some of them don't count. But anywho, there's certain tax, codes and certain stuff that if again, a tax professional should know all this. And I'm not a tax professional, so this is not tax advice by any means. Oh my god, what was that? That's how you know it's live, baby. All the mess ups, one take. But so it's like, if you do it properly, the daily things that you do a lot of the times become write off. If you start having, business meals and meeting clients and, talking business over food, well, that's kind of a write off. If you have, um, you know, you have your meeting, your business, your operating meeting every quarter, right? That is also a write off if you go out and eat food, right? And so all these things can potentially offset a massive amount for you. Now these are like basic abilities. When it comes to like real estate, that's when you're playing a different game because there's a lot of write-off benefits for having property, having assets. And so when it comes to properties, it's like basically tell you to just make it simple, right? So let's say it's $300,000. The tax code allows you to divide it by 27 and a half years. So you divide it by that, whatever that becomes, right? And then 70% is the amount that you could take. So let's say that's 7,000 baseline. So every year you could take a $7,000 write off. Okay, what if the property is cash flowing 500 bucks? Well, 500 bucks a month in profit, right? That becomes 6,000. So technically, you don't have to pay that. Okay, there's other levels up to this. So there's a thing that's called accelerated depreciation. This is a higher technique where you could write off 5 to 7 years, the first 5 to 7 years, right? So remember, it was 7,000 for the first year. So times that by 7 equals $49,000. And so practically, let's call it 50. You could write off $50,000. So again, you have your $6,000 of cash flow from the property. So that's gone. But now you have this extra 44,000. Well, where does that go? Well, that gets applied to the income that you have. So let's say it's 100,000. Well, instead of making 100,000 now, you made let's just take 40 off for simple math. You made 60,000 now, just based off of that, which means you could only get taxed on the 60, not on the 100. So you just saved a bunch of money in the tax form, right? And so like that's one level up of the abilities when it comes to real estate, right? Or two levels, if you will. And so there's more levels to it, right? Of course, but those are more higher and more in depth. But for the most part, when it comes to real estate, that's why you see a lot of people buying real estate. And so if they're getting 50,000 off of one property, well, imagine if they buy 10 of those. Imagine if they buy 100 of those. It's like the write-offs could be basically infinite. So it's like what is it? 50,000 for one, 500,000 for 10, 5 million for 100. But then you could play a different game. That's with a basic single family house, right? And so basic 3-2, let's say for their example. Now there's multifamily where it's a different, tax write-off type of thing, depending on like how many properties and how many units, or I should say not properties, how many units that you have. But so it's like the game is tremendous when you look at it because you could get a house that's worth 300,000, 500,000, a lot more money. But then there's other games that you could play, so that's why you might stick to a specific range to do a specific thing, right? So there's other things I could get into, but I could get lost in the rabbit hole of real estate alone by itself. But so when it comes to taxes, it's like you could play the game of like, this is the basic game. Like, okay, write off your phones or your phone, right? Your phone bill, your internet, because all those are basic functions of like business in this day and age. If you have a website that you had to pay for hosting or whatever, that should be a write off as well. If you're buying any devices or any equipment that you need for your job, like I was a mechanic, and every single tool that I got, well, I wrote that off because I needed that tool in order to do that job on that vehicle, right? And so all the tools that I've amassed, it's like it worked doubled. It's like yes, it cost, but then it got minused off, so it got used twice, right? So just the one instance that I needed the tool, which some of them I used multiple times, right? But the one instance I needed the tool, then plus later on in taxes, what I get to write off the cost of that tool. And so it gave me two benefits right there. It got me paid in that moment, and then I get to deduct it from my pay in the future. And so it's like I get to work money twice. And so most people are working the money once. Okay, you're working on the side and doing this and not necessarily reporting the money or anything like that. Okay, it cost you for those tools. It cost you more than it cost me, right? And so it's like now I could amass a bunch of tools, right? Because I do enjoy cars, but I make sure that I work on cars so that if I do need a tool for a specific job, I get that tool because it's literally to get me out of that situation. A lot of the times when it comes to mechanic stuff, it's like you get yourself in a situation where you need to buy a tool to fix this problem. The tools that you have are not enough to solve the problem. And so then the tool truck guy pulls up just at the right time, usually always. And you're like, thank God you're here. I need something that the like, I don't know, look, this is what I got going on. I need something that, works this out of. And it's like, oh, don't worry, I got you. There's something on the truck for that. And then they bring it to you. You solve the problem with it. And then it's like, well, shit, pay the man. Like we needed that shit for this thing. Well, that again, that was a write-off. And so again, this is the abilities that you have for everything. Let's say you're in baking. Let's say you overbake this cake, unfortunately, and so you have to do it again. Well, that costs ingredients again. So it's like, yeah, the cost of business is not just for, um, the one perfect batch. It's for the fuck up. Like you fuck up once, okay, well you gotta buy it again, don't you? So you could write it off twice, essentially. Not that you want to write it off twice in a circumstance like that, but it's like universally throughout every other business, it's the same function. It's like you have the ability to write off specific things. Like for my business, I can't write off baking something in my house. That's not how it works. I can't write off cooking in my house. That's not how it works. But like for somebody else whose business is about cooking, right? If you got a food truck person who they're creating these masterpieces, but they create them at home first, and then they're like, okay, this is good enough to be on the menu, and then they put it on the menu. Well, all those iterations and all those like attempts of making something that's worthy enough to be on the menu, that could happen at the house, and also that is a write-off for that specific scenario. I can't do that, right? So again, it works to everybody's realm, but you gotta use it to your advantage in whatever realm you're in. So if you're in the food realm, well, you better write off all the food at home because it's well, again, I'm not a professional, but write off what you can, right? And so, with that being said, remember, business is like it's actually super cool when you get to understand all the nuances. Now, there's multiple nuances in business, and you gotta figure it out by fucking up. Like that's basically what I did. I didn't know how to do taxes until I did taxes, and so like the first taxes, I probably didn't get that great of money back because I didn't do that great of a job when it came to putting my taxes together because I didn't know the write off part. So because I didn't know the write off part, I couldn't use it. I was doing at the time delivery driving. And so when I was doing delivery driving, well, there's an expense of whatever it costs to maintain my car, to put the gas in the car. I did not write off any of those things. I just was like, hopefully I don't have to pay money. Shit, I gotta pay money. This is some bullshit. And that's how it went for me. And so that's not how it should go. It should be a way more easier process. And all I use is TurboTax. Like every single season, I actually taught my wife how to do taxes, so I don't have to do taxes. That's really the trick. You learn taxes enough so that you could put it onto somebody else, and then you're like, oh, cool, I'm free. I'm free to go. Like you got it, honey. You're so good at that. Um, and so that's how you avoid it. But that's like the end game play, right? So in the beginning, you actually gotta learn yourself, and then after you learn the game, you get to pass that game along, and then run away and let them handle everything. Um, but so that's it's not that hard. It's trainable. You could easily train somebody else on how to do it. It's not that complicated. But I didn't know. Like so I made the mistake of not knowing, and it probably cost me thousands of dollars. Probably it definitely cost me thousands of dollars not knowing, right? Because I could have got not only paid, but I could have not had to pay anything at all at the same time. But I didn't know that everything that I was doing was actually something that I could use to my advantage. But anywho, that's been your magical tax write-off abilities. The taxes are a game, and this was how to play it legally. So if you enjoyed this video, just DM me taxes so I could know on Instagram or wherever. DM me taxes so I know that like you came from this video. And so, with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe. The link down in the description below is to join my school community. I learned it from the internet.com. I learned it from the internet.com. And if you appreciate everything, stay tuned for the next video at 8 p.m. Central Standard Time because we're here every single day dropping information not only just like this, but in all realms of life. There's so many different realms. So there's at least five realms, right? Basic realms, but there's a lot more than that. I won't get into it this time. I hope you enjoyed it and let me know your favorite thing about this video. Peace.